You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Check out the Israel Sports Radio store by clicking on the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great items such as t-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. Price does include shipping, and we do ship throughout the entire world. All major credit cards are accepted to make your shopping experience easy and convenient. So once again, click on the store tab on www.IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Live from Studio C at the Cherry Hill campus for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, it's Sports Talk.
Down goes Frazier. He scores! High fly ball into right field. She is gone!
Welcome to Sports Talk School of Broadcasting, simulcasted as the SEG show on IsraelSportsRadio.com. We got a lot to talk about. You know, you have the NHL playoffs are probably coming to an end in the near future, and more so, you also have the U.S. Open over the weekend started today. But the World Cup has come to stay. It's been 4 years since the last World Cup, South Africa 2010, and now we finally have the World Cup. Brazil, 2014. Brazil and Croatia kicked it off today, but besides for that game, I'm not really going to get into that game of the details because you already know what happened. We know how that all worked out. But one of the things I came across in terms about the World Cup, and before we get into talking about the groups and where Team USA is going to finish, especially in their group considered to be the so-called group of death with Germany, Portugal, and Ghana actually knocking the U.S. out of the World Cup, the last two tournaments. But all that aside, I came across this piece of paperwork that gave me a complete guide to World Cup team nicknames. I thought it was pretty cool because you have like from Algeria to Argentina. I mean, I can't even pronounce probably, I'll say about half of them without actually reading it really, really slowly and then hoping that I actually get it still right. But I could tell you that, for example, Australia, the Socceroos, I mean, that I know. I know I got that one right. And then you have, Belgium and Bosnia and Herzegovina. But really, this tournament is all about the Seleção, also known as the selection, the little canary Canarinho, which is one of the multiple nicknames that Brazil has. And when you look at a team like Brazil, I think they're always going to be in the World Cup until they're actually out of the World Cup because of the team that they always put on the field. Brazil is the hotbed for soccer. I mean, every kid that grows up in Brazil dreams of playing in the World Cup and dreams of playing soccer as a profession. When you have a team like the Brazilians put together, essentially it's the 11 best players in the country that can actually play with one another, that can actually pass the ball to somebody else, that actually have the fortitude and the ability to know that there is no I in team, that it is all about teamwork. And when that happens, they win cups. They win tournaments. They just win. But it's not going to be easy for them. It's not going to be easy really for anybody in this World Cup because besides for the fact that it is in Brazil, that the World Cup is being played in that South American nation, there really isn't much space really to say that Brazil is the favorite. They're probably one of the favorites, even if it was played in a different country. Certainly that it's played in Brazil, you could say they are one of the favorites. I would actually say that the favorite in this World Cup must be Spain. They call it the Red Fury or La Fiora Roja. Because when you look at Spain, and you look at the type of team that they put out onto the field and who they have playing for them and all and what they've done really the last 8 or so years on the soccer field has been unprecedented. It's been really the type of play that you wish that your country would put out on the field because they've won a World Cup. They've won a couple of European Cups. I mean, what Spain has done, I mean, they're direct, they're aggressive, they play with like a spirit of one, but yet many together on the team, obviously. They're really, really good. And it will take a lot, I think, to defeat them. And of course, the Yanks, the Team USA, they have a lot, call it going for them. There certainly is a lot of question marks, considering especially how the team captain Landon Donovan did not make his 4th World Cup. He was trying to make the 4th World Cup appearance for Team USA. Team USA's career goal leader, 32 years old, but their coach Jurgen Klinsmann felt that he didn't have what it takes to make the World Cup. Look, I'm not going to claim to be a coach. I'm not going to claim to be as smart as any coach anywhere because I don't get paid for that. But when you look at the body of work that Landon Donovan puts out on the field, I think that Jurgen Klinsmann could have used him as a sub. Even, okay, you want to say he's not a starter, he doesn't have 90 minutes in him every game. I think that's fair to say. He's got a lot of mileage under his legs, 32 years old, getting up there a little bit in terms of soccer age. But to say that he can't contribute at all, look at things that he's done in most recently the last World Cup. I mean, he single-handedly kept the Team USA alive against Algeria, scored that goal against them that propelled them out of group stage and into their matchup against Ghana, where they eventually lost. To say that he couldn't help him out, maybe as a sub in the 75th, 80th minute, come in, fresh legs, run around. You know the field. You know, based upon your other 3 World Cup appearances, you're battle-tested, battle-hardened. You know what it's like on the soccer field. You know what it takes to win. You know what it takes to score a goal and the world's biggest stage. I think it was a little bit of perhaps maybe he really just pulled the trigger too quickly on Landon Donovan. I think he should have kept him at least for a reserve role. But hey, who am I? I don't get paid to do this. I don't get paid to coach. Another interesting story surrounding the World Cup, Cameroon, the African nation, their players decided that they were going to boycott the country's trip to South America, to Brazil, unless they got their bonus pay that they were apparently promised, about $12,000 each, that the country of Cameroon did not pay. And they said, okay, we're not going to get on the plane. So Cameroon had to take out a loan in order to pay all the players. I thought that was pretty cool. They had to meet all their players' demands and pay them each about $12,000 for bonus pay. I think that was pretty interesting, considering how most people in the world would love to play in the World Cup. You don't want to pay me? Fine. I'll just they would play just because it's a World Cup, and everybody dreams about playing in the World Cup. So I think that was pretty interesting in terms of a team just saying that no, that we want to get paid. You want us to play? No problem. But we want to get paid. Period. End of story. One of the big stories, I think, surrounding the World Cup is, of course, as it always is, or always seems to be, is the Three Lions, also known as England, Great Britain. They always seem to have this expectations surrounding the team that they should win, and they haven't won the World Cup since the only time in 1966, and that's saying something considering how all the English people that I know, and yes, I don't use that term often, but all the English people that I know consider England to be, one of the best soccer nations in the world. I mean, you look at the English Premier League, it's the best soccer league in the world. You would expect that a lot of the players who play there who are English would actually be able to come through in the most pressure cooker times, but it seems to have always be the opposite for the Three Lions, because be it a player meltdown, a stupid penalty, or giving up a silly goal, it always seems to bite England in the backside that they don't really make it far, or they don't really. It almost seems like the expectations are too heavy on them, and that they fold under the pressure, and that they melt and wilt under the heat that the fans put on them in order to come up big in those big moments. Although they'll get kicking off their World Cup against Italy on Shabbos afternoon in Brazil, should certainly be something to watch, especially in that group. Because when you look at who England has to face, I mean, it's Italy, it's Uruguay, and Costa Rica. Also not a very easy group to get out of, but certainly a possibility, especially if they come up big against Italy, or even if they draw against Italy. I think that they will have a very good shot of moving out of their group stage. It'll be interesting to see how it works out as well, even also with Team USA, because they play Portugal on Sunday the 22nd. They open up against Ghana on Monday the 16th of June. And then they play their last game against Germany on the 26th of June on the Thursday. And that game really will hold big, especially if they fail to beat Ghana and then draw against Portugal. If they draw against both Portugal and Ghana, they're going to need at least one win in those first two games in order to have any sort of dreamer's chance of making it out of group stage and into the knockout rounds of the tournament. It'll be interesting to see how that all pans out in the World Cup, and really for everybody, just because when you look at what everybody brings to the table in terms of Germany with the players that are on that team, I mean, you just go up and down the lineup. It's really these are guys, these are players who have what it takes to win, and have won, and have played in big moments, be it either in the English Premier League or even in the German Bundesliga. They've done it. They've been there. Portugal, I mean, they have one of the biggest stars in the world. So when you look at in Cristiano Ronaldo, and when you look at the team overall, they've had their questionable moments where they've come up small in big situations. But if you could hold Ronaldo in check, then certainly this team is beatable. I would expect a draw at the very least from Team USA against Portugal. I would hope that they could keep up with Ghana, because they are fast down the wings, and they can really, I mean, look, they've knocked Team USA out the last 2 years, so the last two World Cups rather, so Team USA should know how Ghana plays, and they should know what to expect from that nation. It looks as if they're, I mean, I don't want to sound, really, mean or anything, but the Ghana players look like they're malnourished, and that they don't eat enough, and that they would be slacking for efficiency, swiftness, quickness, agility. But then they come onto the soccer field, and there they go. They're off and running. They hit the ground running, and they can fly, and they can do their thing. So if Team USA is able to lock them down on the outside and force them to bring all their shots to the middle of the field, I think they will be able to overcome what Ghana brings, the wave after wave of pressure. and be able to beat them, and then at the very least tie against Portugal and have a shot of making it out of group stage. 856-330-4749. You want to chime in on Twitter at the Yossi G, TheYossig, or send me a message on Facebook, facebook.com. I search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. We'll come right back after these commercial breaks. Take some of your chimes, your texts, your tweets. If you want to call in, by all means, give me a holler.
Again, you're sitting here sulking?
I hate my job, and I don't know what to do to change it.
Get off the couch and go check out the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
The Connecticut School of Broadcasting? What's that? The Connecticut School of Broadcasting offers a career and lifestyle change through a broadcasting experience you won't ever forget. Log on to GoCSB.com to find out how a career in broadcasting is for you and not just the people you see on TV or hear on the radio. CSB focuses on many aspects of real-world broadcasting, and their knowledgeable instructors teach you through a hands-on approach so you're in the studio in no time. To find out how CSB can help you work in an industry you love, call 1-800-TV-RADIO or check us out online at GoCSB.com. Why work 50 weeks a year for a 2-week vacation when you can enjoy your job every day? Don't just sit there. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Thanks, CSB. Radio powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, 856-330-4749. If you want to chime in and get some of your voices heard, your opinions questioned, really, or if you want to chime in on Twitter, send me a tweet at TheYossig, TheYossig. One of the chimes that I was getting in, and this comes from Bob in Center City, Philadelphia. He said, hey, what do you think chances are that Team USA will make it out of group stage? And, well, really, Bob, they could make it out of group stage, if they beat either Ghana or Portugal and tie the other going into the game against Germany. I think it's certainly possible to get out of this group stage if they win one at least and tie the other two. If they have 5 points, I think it certainly is not a probability, but certainly a good possibility that they make it out of group stage. Obviously, the more wins, the better the chances. I don't think they're going to be able to beat Germany. I think at best they'll draw their chance against Ghana. I think they really need to beat Ghana in that first game. Also to give them confidence. They're a very young team, and a lot of players haven't had World Cup experience. I mean, quite frankly, have just barely had a couple of international appearances, a couple of caps under their belt. Portugal, that's really the toss-up. I think that if they draw against Portugal, then they're going to have to beat Germany. But if they lose to Portugal, then they're going to have to beat Germany. But if they draw against Portugal, then at least they know that the chances of winning then probably, or getting out of group stage then probably will just be limited to tying and then probably hoping for another team to help them out. But obviously, if they win against Germany and if they have 2 wins and 1 draw, then they're through. If they have 1 win and 2 draws, then it's a possibility. If they have only 1 win and 2 losses, then I don't think there's a chance that they're going to get out of this group, especially because of the talent level that is in this group. Well, another thing that I came across, an interesting sort of topic, because especially in Philadelphia, this is a big deal right now because the Phillies suck. I mean, there's no way of really sugarcoating it. They suck. And barring a miracle, I mean, a miracle of epic proportions that the Phillies somehow unearth Honus Wagner, like Babe Ruth, Cy Young, and maybe even Shoeless Joe Jackson together, the Phillies will probably be very big sellers in about a little less than 2 months when baseball's July 31st trade deadline approaches. Now, we all know the gory details. You either watch them on TV, seen them on ESPN SportsCenter, lowlights, bloopers, certainly not a lot of highlights for the team, but basically they're the worst team in the NL. they're playing poorly, and unlike the worst team in baseball with the worst record, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Phillies, they have a veteran-laden roster and the third highest payroll behind the Yankees and Dodgers in baseball. So here's the issue, though. Yes, they will probably be sellers, but when you look at their items that they could offer, the players that they could offer for teams that are looking for that reliever or looking for that player that could help propel their own franchise into the postseason and far in the postseason, let's go down some of the list with some players who are probably going to be available, but who probably will not be able to be moved or be able to be moved so easily. Look at Mike Adams, a reliever, for example, right? So 2 weeks ago, he was that type of shutdown setup guy that he displayed when he was playing for the Padres out in San Diego, and he looked like the guy who could probably bring in a prospect or two from the Phillies from a contending team in the next month. But this past week, he was placed on the DL for the fourth time in less than a year and a half of him being in a Phillies uniform. And no one's really going to trade for an injured pitcher who's owed about $3.5 million for the rest of the season. True that Adams is one of the many veterans that it's going to be difficult to trade, but he's not the only pitcher who's going to be difficult to trade. Look at Cliff Lee, for example, right? Also a guy who's now on the injured list. He's owed about $65.5 million over the next 2.5 years. And again, no one is going to be trading for a really expensive injured arm. A.J. Burnett, another pitcher. I mean, he was ready to retire last year, but or rather last offseason, but because he wanted to be close to his family and the Phillies came in with a nice offer, he chose to come to play in Philly because his family lives in Maryland and the Phillies play in eastern Pennsylvania. He has a limited no-trade clause, and he's also owed more than $18 million over the next, for the 2-year, $22.5 million contract he signed. So, couple that, plus the fact that he probably is not going to allow himself to be traded to, the West Coast, considering that he's playing only because he wants to be near his family, and he's also pitching really poorly in the last couple of starts, +7 ERA in his last 6 starts, and he needs hernia surgery. I mean, that's a known fact. So I also see him being moved as being something very difficult. Cole Hamels also, but mostly with Cole Hamels, the issue with him is that, yes, although he has the wonderful postseason resume of the World Series and NLCS MVP in 2008, he's owed over $100 million over the next 4.5 years. So that really is going to be the issue, is that they're going to have to try to find a deep-pocketed team like the Dodgers or that really need an arm like Hamels and can cover that contract. Most likely, if they move him, they're not really going to get premium prospects, because those teams that build or add big names with big numbers usually don't have prospects to throw in, because that's how they have those names and those numbers that they're paying to begin with. So if the Phillies are going to trade Hamels at all, they're probably going to have to throw in a significant chunk of change to help pay his contract if they want to open up the possibility for more suitors for Hamels. Jonathan Papelbon, when you look at him, he's likely the player most likely to go, because they're not going to be contending over the next 2 years, and they have really a zero need for an expensive, even though effective, closer who has attitude issues. I mean, he's owed a little more than $19 million through 2015, and if he finishes 55 games next year or 100 games cumulative of this year and next year together, then that number could be up to over $30 million through 2016 because of that player option. So, they're probably also going to have to be falling into the same category as Cole Hamels if they want to get rid of Papelbon. And I see the Phillies doing that because they really don't want or need Papelbon around for the foreseeable future, once they really start rebuilding. Antonio Bastardo, I think he's the interesting name because he shows you flashes of brilliance from time to time, And most likely a change of scenery could bode very well for him. He's owed only about $1 million for the rest of the season. He's arbitration eligible after the year. So even though he's had the PED issues, the performance-enhancing drugs, the steroids, and all of that, I think that even a small market contending team like say, Kansas City might, if they're still in contention, then might be willing to take a waiver on him and trade for somebody like Antonio Bastardo. Moving on to the actual position players, take Marlon Byrd. All right, he had a really good year last year, kind of a comeback party, turned the clock back for him with the Mets. Gets him a contract with the Phillies. On the surface, he really appears to be like that movable piece that you could trade for him. He's got a 2-year, $16 million offer. He's a somewhat productive outfielder on a short-term deal. But the thing, though, with the contract is that he has a vesting option for a third year when he's going to be 39 years old, and he's more than a third of the way towards that vesting option. He needs 600 plate appearances this year or 1,100 between this year and next year. And once that happens, once he reaches that, he's going to be owed another $4 million for the 2016. That's $20 million for really 2.5 years. It's a lot of money for an old outfielder with a history of steroid use. Carlos Ruiz, the catcher, Chooch, he's owed just under $22 million through 2016. He'll be 36 in the offseason, and that fact, a catcher, 36 years old, really makes him difficult to trade. The Phillies also don't have anybody to take over regular catching duties, and that's probably what's going to keep him around. He's hardworking. He's that guy you want in your clubhouse, like that model citizen. He does all the right things, which rub off well on younger, impressionable teammates, especially considering that you have guys who are going to be coming in who you want to mold into your future, the future of your team, of your franchise. You're going to want someone like Carlos Ruiz around because of everything that he brings to the table. Ryan Howard's not going anywhere because look at Matt Kemp and Prince Fielder. All right, that's the category that I put him into. One of the most difficult players in baseball to trade when you put health, production, and salary all together. He's not going anywhere. He'll still be your first baseman here in Philadelphia for the foreseeable future. Jimmy Rollins, J-Roll, he's a couple hits away from passing Mike Schmidt on the all-time hit list for the Phillies and claiming the franchise hit record for the Phillies. But don't bet on J-Roll's willingness to waive his full no-trade clause that he has because of the 10-5 rules, 10 years in the big leagues, 5 years with the same team. Jimmy's really, he's heavily rooted within the Phillies organization. He's been part of the Phillies organization for 18 years. He owns an off-season home in the Jersey Shore. He's going to be owed more than $16 million through the end of next year once the vesting option arrives, and the vesting option is going to arrive barring a season-ending injury because he only needs 176 more plate appearances this season. Perhaps what possibly could happen is that Jimmy is going to grow tired of losing, and after he gets that record from Mike Schmidt as the Phillies' #1 all-time hits leader, perhaps he'll allow for some trade options to come his way and perhaps see greener pastures to chase another World Series ring. He's owed a decent chunk of change, and not every team is going to be willing to take on the money and trade away a prospect or two. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jimmy Rollins. I think in the end he stays in a Phillies uniform simply because he's owed too much money, and the Phillies are not going to be able to get really that much in return. Now, the last name on the list is Chase Utley. It's the most surprising name for some, but yet really it's the most obvious name for others. When you look at the type of season he's had, he's really turned the clock back about 10 years. Chase has been having an incredible year. He's become a national media trade deadline darling among the rest of the Phillies players because he's having an all-star caliber season at a premium position. He's got intangibles also that teams love. The work ethic, the role model as a teammate. He's incredibly attractive for contending teams that need that type of a player on their team. But the thing really that surprised me the most is that the Phillies said that they're going to be willing to hear offers for every player except for Utley. Every position player except for Utley, which is surprising considering he's your best chance of getting premium prospects back. You trade away a guy like Utley, who's older, who you gave him that contract. I mean, how much do you think he's got left in the tank? You gave him that deal in the offseason for a couple years. How much do you think he's got left? I didn't think he was going to play like this season. Trust me, he's playing well above and beyond my expectations for his performance. When we look at a guy like him, how much do you think he has left? I don't think there's much. I think he's already playing on borrowed time. I would trade him faster than a speeding bullet. If you gave me an offer for a premium prospect or either a premium prospect and 2 mid-level prospects or 2 prospects that need, they're top-tier prospects but not, ready to go right now, and a 3rd lower-level prospect, I would do that. I would trade him, no problem, no questions asked, because you need a build for your future. Right now, you have no future. This roster is aging. It's not getting any younger. Players like Utley having seasons that they're having should be lucky that at least one guy's having a season like him, because these things don't happen all the time. So if you get an offer for him, take it. Listen to all the offers. Well, what's the worst that'll happen? If you get offered some, a crazy steal, trade him. Let him go. So what if he's the reason why people come to your stadium? How many people are coming to the stadium as it is? 20,000? 18,000? Okay. The fans don't want to come because their team stinks. Let Utley go. Your team will still suck. Fans will still not come. And guess what? You have a future. His current contract, he signed less than 3 months before he would have been a free agent. Okay? Utley's got a full no-trade clause. Obviously, why would he want to leave? The Phillies would have to convince him that it's in the best. If he really loves the Phillies, that he should leave, because he'll help the Phillies for their future. And the Phillies are helping him to want to try to get another ring, to try to win another World Series. The issue, though, is that he signed a contract when the Phillies were in the middle of losing 14 of 16 games, and they were 11 games under 500, and 18 games back in the NL East standings last season. So the issue I think the Phillies are going to have is that they're going to have to tell themselves, if Chase did not want to leave then, why would he want to leave now? Also, there's the viewpoint of ownership and the front office who appreciate his intangibles, like Chooch, like Ruiz, and that makes him valuable and impressionable to younger players during a rebuilding process. So certainly Utley's not going to be given away. I think if Oakland says the name Addison Russell, or maybe the Dodgers, whisper into the Phillies' ear, Jock Peterson, or even the San Francisco Giants offer 2 of their pitching prospects, or one of their pitching prospects and a fielding prospect, the Phillies should listen. And I really think that the only place that Chase Utley is going to be willing to go to is the West Coast, because he's from Southern California. He's got a family that lives in Northern California. So really Oakland, LA, San Francisco, that's really going to be the best option for him to land, I think, in a trade. And if you don't trade Utley, I don't think you're going to have much of a future for the next couple of years. I think you're going to be the Phillies are going to end up setting yourselves back a significant amount of seasons unless you get some prospects, premium prospects, along the way right now this coming trade deadline. We're also simulcasted as the SDG Show on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Take some of your points, some of your tweets right after this commercial break.
It's been 48 years Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, 856-330-4749 if you want to give me a phone call, or you can send me a tweet at the Yossi, TheYossig, or send me a message on Facebook, facebook.com, and search for I'm getting some chimes in here about the Knicks and what the Knicks have done. Obviously, if you don't know, the Knicks have hired Derek Fisher to be their head coach for $25 million. Question I'm getting here from Mendy in Brooklyn is, do you think Derek Fisher is worth the money considering he has zero coaching experience? Mendy, it's a good question, and I think that really is something that everybody's kind of asking is Derek Fisher worth it? I mean, we all know what he and Phil Jackson have done. Their experience together in LA and what type of a player Derek Fisher was on the court, type of a leader that players wanted to be around, quick thinking, and much like Jason Kidd in his playing career. I think it will be, obviously, right now I don't think he's worth the money because he hasn't done anything on the court to warrant that type of monetary fee. However, give him some time. Give him a season. Let's see what he can do with this team. The Knicks right now are in shambles. There's a lot of question marks in and around the franchise. They don't have a pick until number 61 in the draft. Will they make moves? Will they bring in who will they bring in that are new players that can help them rebuild, that can help them attract other stars? This all remains to be seen. So I say give Derek Fisher a chance. If you are judging based solely upon what he said in his press conference when he was announced as the Knicks head coach, I think he said all the right things. I think he said everything that really he should have said, and everything that really a player who is like him, considering everything that he brings to the table, I think that he's going to do well. I do. He said all the right things. He was eloquent. He was sobering. I mean, look at here. I'll read you some of the things that he said. He said he was talking about how he and Phil Jackson, although they know one another, they're not going to he's not coming to New York just to kick back and relax and have a chit chat with Phil. He said at the end of the day, we have to find a way to create a format, a system, a way of playing that makes it easy for players to play the game and to be more effective, to utilize the full talent of our roster and not lean so heavily on one or two of the guys. So, really, he knows what he's getting himself into. That's what I think. I think he knows what the pressure is like in New York. I think he knows how to deal with that pressure, and I think he's going to do well as a coach because he's going to have all the right pieces around him to help him coach, to help the team be the best that it can. They're probably going to be, keep Anthony, keep Carmelo as a Knick. I think it'll do well. I think he'll really be able to help the Knicks out because of his experience, both as a player, staying with one team for a while, being able to test free agency, go elsewhere. He knows what different fan bases are like. He knows he's played in New York. He knows what they're like. He's a winner. He's proven a winner. He's got 5 rings. He knows what to do, what to say, and it will be, obviously, in due time, we'll also know if he knows which buttons to push in the right time. But until then, I think that he's going to do well. I think he's going to perform well, and I think he's going to help the Knicks very much and on improving their current situation. How about that game last night, huh? The Rangers. The Rangers come back. Actually, they never were behind really last night against the Kings in Game 4 at Madison Square Garden, but they won 2-1. Henrik Lundqvist really stole the game, I think. Even so, there was a couple times where his defense bailed him out. Last night was really the only game I thought the Rangers should have lost. You look at the first 3 games, they really could have won 2 out of the first 3. I think last night was the first, Game 3, even though they lost 3-0, they outplayed the Kings. Just nothing went in because Jonathan Quick was playing remarkably. The first 2 games both went to overtime. The second game went to double overtime. They lost both of those 2 games as well. Last night was really the one where I thought that they should have lost because they were outworked, out-hustled, outplayed, yet they won. Henrik Lundqvist stuck it, did it, made sure that when he said before the game that they're going to win this game no matter what, that the Rangers actually did win the game no matter what. I think the biggest play of the game was Lundqvist stopping a shot, and then it trickles between his legs, and just it stops on the goal line as he's being backed into the net, and Derek Stepan recognizes what's going on, dives and pushes the puck into Henrik's backside, into his tuchus, to make sure that the puck does not cross the goal line. Obviously, that's a real questionable thing to do because if you cover up a puck, that's a penalty shot. But you're allowed to push the puck into the goaltender. The question that the LA Kings thought what happened was that Stepan pushed the puck into Henrik Lundqvist, but then also kept his hand there to make sure that it wouldn't bounce back out. But the referees saw otherwise, and they said it was a no goal, no penalty shot, nothing wrong. Rangers come out victorious and start their march towards 1 game at a time, trying to become the first team since the 1942 Maple Leafs to come back from down 3-0 and beat the team that they're playing in the championship round for the Stanley Cup. It'll be interesting. It'll be a lot of fun to see that happen. But certainly the Rangers are not looking towards Game 6 or Game 7. They're looking towards Game 5. It's tomorrow night. And like I told my wife last night when we were watching the game, I said the trickiest thing for the Rangers, at that point in time, it was about 5 minutes left of the game. I said, should the Rangers hold on? And, of course, they did to win the game. The trickiest game, I think, is Game 5 because you're going back on the road and you're still down 3-1. And if you're in Game 6, you say to yourself, okay, we just need to win this game, and then anything goes. You're in Game 7? Well, it's Game 7. Anything goes in Game 7. You would have all the momentum going your way. You will have just won 3 games in a row. You're trying to come back against the team that puts you down 3-0. You've won 3 games in a row against them. It's Game 7. Anything goes. You never know. Game 6 is that stepping stone. You say to yourself, just win this one, and then we get to Game 7. I think Game 5 is the trickiest because you're still down. Again, like I said, 3-1. You just won 1 game. That was Game 4. Big game, nonetheless. Granted, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. But you're back on the road now. And you're playing in a tough building, tough crowd, against a really good team with a hot goaltender. That is the trickiest game because just like Game 4, I would think that, okay, you don't want to be swept. You want to be able to show you have at least some sort of a pulse in the finals. So with that said, you don't necessarily want to roll over, because then you'll be like a laughingstock. You'll be joining those teams, those few teams who were swept in the final. So you win one game. Get some kind of recognition that you actually came and played and did your thing. Game 5, really, that's the game where I find to be the biggest trap for the teams, because most of the time, the team just rolls over and, so to speak, dies, and that's it. 5 games, that's the end of the series. Boom, bang, move on, or in this case, you're done. Season's over. Stanley Cup trophy comes out. We party, or at least LA parties. You win Game 5, you move on to Game 6. Now you say to yourself, win Game 6. We're one step closer to home, one step closer to playing for that Game 7 where anything truly does go. And I think that's going to be the trickiest thing for the New York Rangers, is being able to tell themselves, hey guys, play this game, get it done, do what we do, play hard, hopefully we'll get a couple of bounces, and we'll win Game 5, and we'll move back home across country for Game 6 with the ability to see that Game 7 is on the horizon, but yet play with Game 6 by saying, hey guys, just win this one, and we go to Game 7, and there, truly, as anybody who's played hockey, as anybody who follows sports and knows what a playoff series is all about, Game 7 truly is any team's game, because anybody could win in such a situation. It's a one game, everyone take all, but first comes Game 5, the trickiest one of them all. You're listening to Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, simulcasted as the Yossi G Show at IsraelSportsRadio.com. When I come back, we'll talk a little bit about Alain Vigneault, a little bit about the Ilya Kovalchuk rumors, taking your questions, your comments, your tweets, and your texts.
You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
This context, there's no disrespect, so when I bust my rhyme, you break it.
4749, or you can chime in on Twitter at the Yossi G, TheYossig. We are also simulcasted as the Yossi G Show on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Alain Vigneault has coached a really, really good playoff run for the Rangers in his first year as Rangers head coach. The problem is that in the finals, a lot of people are saying that perhaps his conservative ways cost the Rangers another cup. Now, take consideration. The Rangers were 8th in the league when down by a goal, winning 55.5% of their games. Up by a goal, that goes down to less than half of the times that they won their games. It really is, it's something that's shocking to think that when they had a goal lead, they failed to put the foot on their opponent's throat. Yeah, they're 82 games and you can't go full tilt all the time, but come on. Are you serious? Let's look at games 1 and 2 against the Kings, right? The Rangers came out flying in both games, stunning the Kings with their speed, building leads in the process, getting 2-goal leads in both games. Now, the people who picked the Kings to breeze by in the series were starting to squirm in their seats a little bit, and you could start to see soon after Carl Hagelin's shorthanded goal to give the Rangers a 2-0 lead in Game 1 that the Rangers seemed to be a little bit more conservative suddenly. They got 13 shots in the first period, 9 in the second, and only 3 in the third and then they lose in overtime. Game 2, they seem to have learned their lesson. You would think, don't sit back, go right at them, 60 minutes. And they did that for 2 periods. They outshot the Kings in each of the first 2 periods, 22-20. And then the Rangers put 7 shots on goal on Jonathan Quick in the third. The Kings got 12 shots on Henrik Lundqvist, tied up the game, and then won it in double overtime on Saturday night. So when you look at the games, I mean, it's not pretty because the Rangers play good, really good 2 periods of hockey, and then suddenly they take their foot off the gas pedal, take their foot off the throat of their opponent. Now, Alain Vigneault is a very, very fine coach, very good. He's done really good work with the Rangers thus far this season in the first couple rounds of the playoffs. But the Stanley Cup is not on his resume, and it doesn't appear like it's going to be on his resume anytime soon if he continues to coach like he has, the same way he did in Vancouver. And the fans in Vancouver can tell you the same thing. They can tell you the same thing that Rangers fans are learning now. Vigneault seems to want to fix what isn't broken too often in the game. He gets too conservative. You get a lead, try to extend it, no? Rub it in. Ram it down their throats. But Vigneault's style seems to say, hey, let's not get too ahead of ourselves with a lead. Let's play defensively. Let's make sure they don't score on us. You play defensive anything, and that just means that your offense is not going to score. Ask anybody in football that mentality. Prevent defense just means you're preventing yourselves from winning. All his players and his fans want, and the Rangers fans want him to say is, let it ride, man. Let it ram down their throats. Keep the pressure on. Keep moving. Keep putting shots on goal. Don't dump and chase. I mean, get good quality chances and score. Capitalize on them. Obviously, Game 3, you couldn't do much because Jonathan Quick was playing ridiculous. And at this point, you really can't afford to have Jonathan Quick another game like that. You need him to be more like Games 1 and 2, where you put goals on him, you put them on him quickly, you build up leads, but this time, as opposed to Games 1 and 2, be like Game 4 and hold the lead. Keep on scoring. Keep getting those pucks on goal and allow for your team to score and win. And hopefully take it one game at a time. Ilya Kovalchuk going back to New Jersey. There's been rumors flying the last couple of days. I don't see it happening. Because the superstar turned NHL quitter Kovalchuk, he wants a redo next year in the NHL. I don't think it's going to happen because there's a couple things that have to go first. He retired from the Devils shortly after he signed a 12-year, $77 million contract. Then he went to Russia and signed a 4-year contract in the Continental Hockey League, in the KHL. So unless Covey sits out a full season of professional hockey anywhere in the world, he can't go back to the NHL without consent from all 30 franchises until the 2018-2019 season. But if Covey sits out a full season of pro hockey anywhere in the world, that means no NHL, no KHL, no Swedish leagues, no Swiss leagues, no German leagues, no nothing. Then he can return to the NHL with the Devils' consent. If not, if the Devils don't consent, then he has to wait till 2018-2019, and then he can come back to the NHL. Now, in 2018-2019, he's going to be 35 years old and removed from the league's voluntary retirement list and free to sign as a free agent with any NHL team. Will it happen that he'll come back to the NHL? I highly doubt it, because even if he doesn't sit out, are the Rangers going to sign off and say that Covey can come back and possibly play for the Devils again? Are the Flyers going to say that? Are the Penguins going to allow that? I don't see it happening. I see this being just rumors as is, and that's just simple as it does, as simple as it gets. Getting a text in here from another Mendy, a different Mendy, also in Brooklyn. He wants to know if Jurgen Klinsmann, the United States World Cup soccer, the head coach of the U.S. team, he says that the fans should not expect that the U.S. to win the World Cup. Why not? Well, Mendy, I will say like this. Jurgen Klinsmann is being realistic. He doesn't want fans to get their hopes up that, dude, just because I'm a really great German player and I'm a pretty good coach too, that they should get their hopes up that I can, pull some magic with the United States team and that they will win the Cup. He maintains that the U.S. shouldn't expect to win the World Cup, even though it's going to upset fans in the U.S. Yes, it's very un-American, and I know, but even so, you have to be realistic. It's Ghana, Portugal, and Germany in one of the most difficult first-round groups, and then you want to go and talk about some of the other countries. The U.S. is just not up to par with those other countries. Yes, Klinsmann won a World Cup for West Germany in 1990 and coached Germany to the semifinals in 2006. Still, the U.S. can't win a World Cup because they're not at the level of the other countries. I mean, Brazil has 5 titles. Italy has 4 titles. Germany has 3. Argentina, Uruguay each have 2. England, France, and Spain all have 1. I mean, you're talking about countries with players, and this is all they do is play soccer. From when they come out of the womb, essentially, with a soccer ball. I don't see it as a problem. I just see him as being a realist that the U.S. fans shouldn't expect craziness on the field. I mean, obviously, if it happens, it happens, and we'll all be chanting and cheering and enjoying the moment. But don't plan ahead. Interestingly enough, you go through the NFL power rankings of NFL head coaches here, and some of the interesting ones here is like, Tom Coughlin of the New York Giants is number 5 on the list, going 32-1, one being, of course, Bill Belichick. Tom Coughlin, he's on the hot seat in New York, and it's really due to the unrealistic media in the Big Apple. Remember, he's won 2 Super Bowl titles in 5 seasons, and that's nothing to scoff at. I mean, that's nothing to write off. That's pretty darn good, considering the Jets haven't won a title since 1969. And in the top 15, I mean, Chip Kelly comes in at number 16, barely. He cracks 16 as the Eagles fans really, they're encouraged by the way that he's really got his team better last year as the season went along, and he's on his way to perhaps turning Nick Foles into a polished and poised NFL quarterback. The reason why they're not, I wouldn't put him higher than that, and certainly they haven't, is because it's only one season, and it's not a lot really to judge on. If he's able to do the same thing again with the team with Foles and how they finish, well, that certainly remains to be revisited. Rex Ryan, he's 17, did a nice job last season, finished 8-8, really with a rookie quarterback and no weapons on the offense. And at some point, there's going to be some concern about his ability to develop a signal caller into a really solid quarterback in the NFL, because he hasn't been able to do that yet. It just hasn't happened with the Jets. But time will tell. We'll see what happens this year with the new season, the defense, and all that. So it certainly should be interesting. We'll see how that all pans out. Well, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the sports weekend. The U.S. Open over the weekend, and, of course, the World Cup opening up. Enjoy all the games. I'm Yossi G here, the Yossi G Show at IsraelSportsRadio.com. And
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.